Hi, thank you for joining me again for a sermon recap of yesterday's message in God's house. The text was Matthew chapter 14, verse 14, and it said, Jesus saw a large crowd, had compassion on them, and healed their sick. So I focused on just that word, compassion. What's interesting about that word, we're familiar with it. We might not say it a lot, but we know what it means. Thing is, it doesn't come up in the Bible as much as you might guess. And where it comes up the most is in the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the stories of Christ. And it's usually used how Christ showed compassion. We saw examples of how he fed the 5,000 because he had compassion on them. He helped people because they were like sheep without a shepherd, so he had compassion on them. He fed the 4,000 because he had compassion on them. He healed a leper because he had compassion on them. He healed two men who were blind because he had compassion on them. Again, that's how we see Jesus living out being God's Son, doing for people what they can't do for themselves. They can't heal themselves or restore themselves, but Christ, in contact with those people, could do those things for those people who were hurting. So again, Christ showed that great compassion again and again and again. We give thanks to God for that. And if you think about it, it doesn't take much to think about this, the cross of Christ is the ultimate place of compassion, where he comes into our world, lives a life with us, lays down his life as a sinless person, Son of God, yet still takes the place of everyone else. That is ultimate compassion, that the one being who never committed a sin laid down his life for all the other sinners in the history of the world. What love, what compassion, what kindness, what giving. We give thanks that that was the heart of Christ that he showed again and again. I did ask, though, a very important question, and that was, when people were to describe us, what would they say? Would they use the word compassionate? And I would hope so, because Colossians 3, verse 12, and we heard in the worship service, says, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, which is what we are, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Now, those five things are not exactly the same. Those five things are very close. I would say compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience have to do with each other, because they're activities or emotions that are carried out by people who are first filled with the love of God, filled with God's love for them, thankful for a compassionate God, and so we're then in a blessed position to share that, sort of reflect the compassion of Christ to one another. So we talked about other things too, about how we're an emotional group of people, human beings that is, and even Christ showed his emotions. He showed love again and again. There were times when he showed that he was angry, but again, one emotion that Christ showed was that compassion, empathy, understanding, acceptance of people where they are at, not saying, well, you need to be a better person. No, just like, I know where you are. I know you struggle with your own sinfulness. I've died to take it away from you. And so we give thanks for that great compassion that Christ has shown us again and again and again. We also know that Jesus repeatedly shows it to us. And the actual word, which is kind of interesting, if you were to think of like synonyms for compassion, or define compassion, you might think of love, charity, giving, service. I'd agree with that. But the word is actually two words. It means to suffer together or suffer along with. That's compassion. When someone that we know is hurting, we hurt with them. When someone we know is rejoicing, we're not jealous. We rejoice with them. That's what compassion is. True taking on what people are dealing with, experiencing it with them, loving them through it, and being there for them. And Christ showed that to us again and again and again, simply by coming mankind into our world to make us right with God. So again, I enjoyed the topic of compassion. Again, it's not a word we talk about a whole lot. We understand this meaning, but it truly means to suffer together, which we do as God's people, as Christ did with us and for us. God bless the rest of your day or the coming of your week, and I hope to see you again soon. God bless.